Okay, to be fair, I think Hedwig's death in the movies is brutal and tragic. But it feels so much more satisfying. In the books, it's just awful. And this is the rare instance where staunch book fans actually don't mind the adaptation because, again, in the books it just sucks. In Hedwig's death during the Seven Potters chapter, Hedwig isn't let loose. She's stowed in her cage and shoved in between Harry's knees in the sidecar to the motorcycle. When she dies, it's just an errant killing curse that happens to fly by and hit Hedwig, and she goes limp in her cage. Here's the passage in the books. Screams. A blaze of green light on every side. Hagrid gave a yell, and the motorbike rolled over. Harry lost any sense of where they were. Streetlights above him, yells around him. He was clinging to the sidecar for dear life. Hedwig's cage, the firebolt, and his rucksack slipped beneath his knees. No, Hedwig! The broom spun to earth, but he managed to seize the strap of his rucksack and the top of his cage as the motorbike swung the right way up. A second's relief, and then another burst of green light. The owl screeched and fell to the floor of the cage. No! No! The motorbike zoomed forward. Harry glimpsed hooded Death Eaters scattering as Hagrid blasted through their circle. Hedwig! Hedwig! But the owl lay motionless and pathetic as a toy on the floor of her cage. He could not take it in, and his terror for the others was paramount. And that's not even the end right there. It gets even more tragic. Here's another part of the passage in the books a little bit later. In desperation, Harry pointed his wand at the sidecar and shouted, Wingardium Leviosa! The sidecar rose like a cork, unsteerable, but at least still airborne. He had but a split-second relief, however, as more curses streaked past him. The 3 Death Eaters were closing in. Then the sidecar began to fall in earnest, and the remaining Death Eater shot a curse so close to Harry that he had to duck below the rim of the car, knocking out a tooth in the edge of his seat. As they soared upward, away from the 2 remaining Death Eaters, Harry spat blood out of his mouth, pointed his wand at the falling sidecar, and yelled, Confringo! He knew a dreadful, gut-wrenching pang for Hedwig as it exploded. The Death Eater nearest it was blasted off his broom and fell from sight. His companion fell back and vanished. So not only does Harry have to watch Hedwig die in the sidecar, he has to make it explode as well. It's just brutal. Because Hedwig dies as an innocent bystander, but to be completely honest, both the book and the movie are really well done. Obviously the book is as good as it is because it's the book, but this truly is one of the rare moments where staunch book lovers don't hate the adaptation. I think it has to do with the core message of the book, and if that translates over to the movies. Let me give you an example. There's a part of Half-Blood Prince where Harry just watches Dumbledore die from beneath the floorboards of the tower. This is a terrible adaptation because it just doesn't ring true from the books. In the books, Harry is immobilized by Dumbledore because Dumbledore knows Harry would do everything in his power to stop Draco from killing him. And Dumbledore does this to protect Harry here, and kind of to run his plan as well. It also makes so much more sense because in the second Dumbledore took to immobilize Harry, Draco was able to sneak in and disarm him. The movies are so dumb because Draco just walks in and disarms Dumbledore by being quicker than him. And I'm sorry, but 101 out of 100 times Dumbledore will wipe the floor with Draco. But that whole scene is a reprehensible adaptation because Harry has a saving people complex in this series. It is a huge part of the books. And there is literally 0% chance he would watch anyone die, much less Dumbledore, from a comfy spot below deck. Harry would rather die himself than watch someone else die. But that's why this scene for Hedwig is just very different. Because the book captures a very key part of the series, which is something that Ferenz says in the first book in the Dark Forest. He says, always the innocent are the first victims. So it has been for ages past, so it is now. And a huge part of the series is that there are scores of people who are dead simply because they just walked across the path of Voldemort. Now in Philosopher's Stone, they're talking about the unicorn. But think of Cedric, Dobby, or of Charity Burbage. Think of Frank the housekeeper, and now Hedwig. In the eulogy of Cedric, Dumbledore says something similar when he says, "Remember Cedric. Remember, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy, remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. Remember Cedric Diggory." This is just a sad part of war, especially during the time of Voldemort. All these innocent people die and they have no real say in the matter. It's terrible, but that's just a part of this series and a part of real life. So the book, obviously, makes sense according to the story and the way the story plays. But the movie does that in a totally different sense, and one that is actually quite lovely. Because a cornerstone of this book series is all about sacrificial love. And Hedwig first starts to protect Harry here when she dive bombs the Death Eater. Harry releases her earlier, and I'm sure in his head he is thinking that she'll come back later after the whole fight and everything will be good. But that's not Hedwig's thought. She goes out of her way to keep tracking Harry, and then finds a moment when Harry is in danger and protects him at the cost of her life. This kind of sacrificial love is what the series is all about. And it's a beautiful adaptation for that reason. Yes, Hedwig dying in a cage has significance to the symbolism of the story, but equally does the fact that Hedwig takes the killing curse for Harry here. Just like his mother did for Harry, and just like Harry will do for all the people he loves at the end of the story. On top of that, it was Hedwig's choice to do this as well, which is another huge part of this story. And while I think both the movie and the book versions are sad and brutal, and I just wish Hedwig never died in the first place, if she had to go out, I much prefer that she was able to go out on her own free choice in order to defend someone that she loves. I mean, apart from just dying of old age, if there's any way I'd want to die, it would be dying for someone I love, like a family member or something. It's always a running joke among some friends of mine, but I think a lot of guys want to be able to do that and take the bullet for someone they love and show the ultimate form of love, which is sacrificial love. Not to glorify that, but the movie is beautiful and they give Hedwig a choice and she chooses to take the killing curse for Harry. We are sad for her, but the theme of love just bursts from that scene. Rather than the brutal display in the books where she just dies in a cage between Harry's knees. It just hurts so much more in knowing she dies that way because she has no choice. Because she was just an innocent bystander. Because she's Hedwig and we've all come to love her so much that when she dies, it honestly is just as gutting as the Dobby or Dumbledore or Sirius death. I know a friend of mine who actually had to step away from the books when she dies because they literally could not stop crying. And being a pet owner too, to my best buddy Wes, whenever I reread this section, it makes me tear up more than a lot of the other deaths. It's just so tragic. But I might be in the minority on this. Which version of Hedwig's death do you actually find more tragic? Is there one that completely misses the mark for you? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.